Well, good evening, and I would like to welcome you and call to order our Lucan Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, April the 19th. And I forgot, when we were live 2 weeks ago in person, I forgot to use the gavel, and what a good feeling it is to be able to use this again. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? So I want to begin tonight by once again just apologizing for the technical issues that we experienced during our last council meeting 2 weeks ago. These sort of issues are beyond our control, and our IT and communications departments have worked very hard over the last 2 weeks to ensure that we are beyond these concerns. And I do appreciate everyone's interest, concern, and patience as we transition back to live settings. This past weekend marked the return of holiday traditions for our families and residents across Lucan Biddulph. Easter, Passover, and Ramadan were all being celebrated. The weekend also meant the return of the Optimist Easter egg hunts in Lucan and in Granton. And I want to thank the Optimist Club for organizing these events and for bringing families out. I stopped in at both events, and the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Regan were in Lucan, and it was wonderful to see so many out enjoying this annual event that has been missed the last couple of years. This upcoming weekend sees the return of the Scouts and Guides Pitch-In Day. Outdated and not needed electronics can be dropped off at Market Street Park on Saturday. And I think that most of us around the Horseshoe will be joining the kids to help clean up areas across Lucan. And I would encourage residents in Lucan Biddulph to honor Earth Week festivities. Earth Day is officially Friday, the 22nd, and clean up around their homes. I know where I live, there is always lots to clean up in the ditches when the snow melts. And I can tell you that in years gone by, I have found some interesting treasures. So when you are out for your walks, take a bag and some gloves and do your part to help beautify our municipality. We do not have to go into closed session tonight, but we do have to go into a planning public meeting and sit as the Committee of Adjustment. So I would ask for a mover and a seconder to adjourn our council meeting in order to sit as a Committee of Adjustment under the Planning Act. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that's carried. So first up tonight, we do have a minor variance application. It's PL-08-2022, and this has been filed by Jay and Brittany McKinnon. And at this point, I will turn it over to our planner, Dan Fitzgerald, to speak to the application, and we'll go from there.
Through the chair, thanks, Madam Mayor and members of the committee. I hope everyone can hear me tonight. Okay. So the first application that we have here is A-3-2022, and it is an application with respect to a property that's located at 34484 Granton Line, which is located on the east side of Granton Line, south of the intersection at Head and Granton Line. The applicant is requesting a minor variance for permission to construct an accessory building that's larger than the permitted zoning standards. The subject property is approximately 810 square meters in area. It's occupied by a single unit dwelling and an existing accessory structure. It is connected to municipal water and sanitary services and is generally surrounded by residential developments in the form of single detached dwellings. The property is designated residential under the official plan, and it's also zoned residential first density, or R1 zone. The R1 zone does allow for single unit dwellings as well as any associated accessory uses, such as an accessory building in this case. So as shown on the plan, the owner is requesting approval to construct an accessory building on the property, which would be located behind the front face of the main dwelling on the north interior side yard. The zoning bylaw permits a maximum size of 5% for all accessory buildings. whereas in this case, the applicant is requesting permission to construct a building of a maximum size of 82.1 square meters, or 10.1% lot coverage. So staff have reviewed the proposal against the Planning Act tests, the local official plan, as well as the local zoning bylaw. I am of the opinion that the proposal does satisfy the Planning Act tests, as it meets the intent of the official plan. Zoning bylaw, it's considered minor in nature, and it's also considered an appropriate and desirable use of the property. So given the above, I am recommending approval of the minor variance as proposed, subject to the condition that is outlined in the planning report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Dan. Any questions or comments from the members of the committee? Okay, no, I do know that the applicants are joining us via Zoom, and I just wondered if Mr. or Mrs. McKinnon had anything to offer at this time.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
We can hear you.
Okay, no, I don't have anything else to offer at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, if there's no further discussion on that, there is a recommended motion in front of us, and it's fairly lengthy in nature, but I will read this one. That application for minor variance A-3-2022, filed by Jay and Brittany McKinnon for relief from the Township of Lucan Biddulph Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw to permit the construction of a detached garage with a maximum size of 82.1 square meters or 10.1% lot coverage for a property known municipally as 34484 Granton Line, Granton, be granted and subject to the following conditions: that the building be constructed in the same general location as shown on the concept side plan. The reason for that, the intent of the Township of Lucan Biddulph official plan is maintained. The intent of the Township of Lucan Biddulph zoning bylaw is maintained, and the variance is considered minor given the circumstances, and the variance is desirable for the appropriate use and development of the lands. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on, we've got Planning Report PL-09-2022. This is a consent application for 452 Queen Street in Granton, and that application is B-02-2022, and this is the ALS property. And then I will hand it back over to you, Dan.
Through the chair, thanks, Mayor and members of the committee. So the purpose of this application for the committee tonight is to provide a recommendation for a proposed consent for a minor boundary adjustment for a property that is located at 452 Queen Street in Granton. The consent application would consider the severance of a portion of vacant land from 452 Queen Street, which would be added to 450 Queen Street in Granton. As proposed, the applicant has requested to sever a 378 square meter portion of land from the 452 Queen, which would be consolidated with 450 Queen. The proposed severed land directly abuts the rear property line of 450 Queen Street, and if approved, the addition would create a lot with an area of 858 square meters, and the remnant parcel of land at 452 Queen Street would be approximately 1,027 square meters. The subject lands as a whole are approximately 1,405 square meters and is situated on the east side of Queen Street in Granton. The lands are located north of the intersection at Queen Street and Station Street and are comprised of currently 2 vacant parcels of land. Surrounding land uses generally are residential in nature and are in the format of single detached dwellings. The property is designated settlement area in the county official plan, residential in the Township of Lucan Biddulph's official plan, and both parcels are zoned a residential first density R1 zone by the Township zoning bylaw. The county official plan and Township official plan both permit minor boundary adjustments, provided that the lots created do not lead to undersized, irregular shaped lots, which are unsuitable for development. In this case, the minor boundary adjustment seeks to create two similar sized parcels of land for the purpose of constructing residential homes on each parcel. As proposed, the lot sizes would meet the minimum bylaw requirements and subject to the recommendation conditions of the consent. I am of the opinion that the proposal is appropriate and does meet the PPS, the county official plan, as well as the township official plan. As such, I am recommending that the proposed minor boundary adjustment be approved, subject to the conditions that have been outlined in the planning report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Dan. Appreciate that. Any questions or comments from the committee on this application? Okay, before I ask the applicants, just the record of site condition, can you just speak to that a little bit more, Dan, on that, please?
Yeah, through the chair to the mayor. So with respect to this particular property, we are aware of a former contamination that occurred on the site. The owner did do an extensive cleanup of the lands and does have a report associated with that cleanup identifying the state of the property at this point in time. When it comes to sites that are known for contamination, we do ask that the Ministry of Environment provide a record of site condition prior to any development of the lands ensuing. So in this case, we would just want to ensure that if the rear portion of the lands is in any way subject to potential environmental constraint, that be identified up front prior to consolidating with the lot at 450. So it has been included as a condition, which I believe is condition number 6 in the recommendation, that the owner receive clearance from the Ministry of Environment, Climate and Parks through a record of site condition prior to the certificate of consent being granted in this case.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, if there's not any other comments from the committee, I know that both Dan and Mike have joined us via Zoom, and I just wondered at this time if either one of you had comment to the application.
No, I don't think so, not at this time. I know one document stated there was a building on one of the properties. I'm not sure if anyone knows about that, but there is no building on those properties.
Okay, thank you for that. And okay, all right. If there's no other comments, then and nothing else from the committee. The recommendation is that the application for consent B-2-2022 be granted, and there are 8 conditions that are attached to that motion. I'm not going to read all of them. I think most of them are usual. As Dan said, when I asked about the record of site condition, that is a condition in there. Certainly anybody wanting to know more about those conditions can read them on our agenda and then the minutes that will follow from here. But I would ask for a mover and a seconder for this motion in front of us. Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that's carried. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to rise from the Committee of Adjustment at 6:15 p.m. Councillor Regan and a seconder, Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that's carried. We do have a delegation joining us tonight, and joining us from Aqua is Renee Hornick, who is the Regional Hub Manager, and I believe she's also brought along Susan Budden with her. And I don't think we've had an opportunity to meet Susan, but I believe, and with all due respect, Susan is the new Jackie, I believe, for our community. So that will put everything into perspective. Before I turn it over to Renee, I'll just make mention that it's warmer now than it was about 9 hours ago when a group of us went on a tour where we went to some neighboring communities and visited some neighboring wastewater facilities. So I'm much more comfortable than I was, but it was great to see you in person, Renee. And at this point, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, and good evening, Your Worship, members of council and municipal staff. Yes, you're right. It is much nicer now in my nice warm home, and it was not the best day to be outside on a tour of lagoons. So yes, so you mentioned Susan Budden. She is our new business development manager. She is replacing Jackie, and we are both looking forward to meeting you in person at a council meeting in the near future, hopefully sooner than later, but we will patiently wait until that time is ready. And there's Susan right there.
I'm very sorry I lost connection there, Madam Mayor. It's very nice to meet all of you. And yes, I think I heard a bit of an introduction there. I am the new Jackie Muller. So it's a pleasure to be working with you folks. And I look forward to meeting you in person. Thanks for having me tonight. And I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Oh, no apology needed. No apology needed.
Okay, so now I'll share my screen and go over the report. This is going to be a quick one. I just gave a quick overview. Let me share my screen here. Okay, so you should be able to see it now. So tonight I'm presenting the 2021 annual reports for the Lucan and Granton wastewater treatment facilities, as well as the fourth quarter operations report. I didn't put this in here, but I did want to mention that as a requirement of the ECA, we are required.
Renee,
Yes.
can I just get you to pause 1 second? Because now we have a little bit of a technical glitch going on here.
Certainly.
So if I can just get you to pause 1 sec. Okay, we're good? Okay. It was just 1 second. We're good now.
Okay, great. So the reason for the annual reports is they're a requirement of the ECA, which is the environmental compliance approval for the two systems, Granton and Lucan sewage plant. We're required to report on certain conditions from the approvals and also provide them to the ministry by March 31st, which we have done so, and now we're just presenting them to you. So without going into detail, I just thought I'd focus on a couple highlights of each of the systems. And first off, there's been no MECP inspections for either of the facilities for 2021. It has been, I think, 6 years now since we've had our last inspection. So to go into the highlights of the Lucan wastewater treatment plant, the 2021 reporting period had almost 400,000 meters cubed per year. And for 2020, it was 371,000-ish. And so you can see that it has increased from 2020 to 2021. We have a graph here, which really shows, you can see here in the fall, September, October, November, December, the flows were higher in 2021 than they were in 2020. And that is related to just rain and probably some thaws of some snow. So I like to show that. You can see the design is up here at 1700. And so for monthly average, we have not exceeded, but there were some daily exceedances, nothing major, but there were some. And there were no non-compliances to report for the Lucan sewage treatment plant for 2021. Some of the highlights for the Granton RBC is for 2021, we had flows of 78.52 meters cubed, and the same period in 2020 was 103. Now, this is really interesting. As you can see here, for 2020, which is the gray, we had higher flows up until June. it was found that there was a leak within the water system that was going into the sewage plant, and in some cases more than doubling the flow. So it was really good to catch that. Aqua came in with, we have a team that was able to do leak detection and approximately find out where the leak was so that it could be repaired. And then you can see this September, October, November, December matches what Lucan was, higher than last year, and typically in the same range. And then there was daily flow exceedances, which were surpassed on March, 2 days in September and October. The one in March really knocked our socks off and gave us a hard time achieving compliance for a long time. It washed the plant out, and it's been a long recovery. There were a few times where we had total exceedances for the total suspended solids, and the annual average for the total suspended solids for 2021 was also exceeded. As you can see, it's 11.69 there. We're continuously working on improving that system. We're working with the optimization team. And one of the other issues that's ongoing is plugging of the pumps with rags at the sewage pumping station. I've worked with Jeff and Julie and done numerous notifications, media blitzes on this. And I'm really looking forward now that we can get back into person and meet, and hopefully I can get into the schools and you know, education on all this information is the best, especially when we get them at grade H. We have a one water program, which is grade 8, sorry. And they are so eager to learn and retain that information and bring it back to their households. And we've noticed nothing but good feedback from it. So I'm really excited to get that program going again. And if we can't get it going in person, then I assume that we're going to have to figure something out electronically, because I think it's an important program and it'll really get our point across about what not to flush into our sanitary system. So that is a very brief overview of the Lucan and Granton systems. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Renee. And I think that we would all agree that the sooner we can get back into the schools for that education program, the better. And you certainly would have our full support of trying to organize that. Is there any questions from Council? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good to see you again, Renee. Just at the bottom of page 2, when you just mentioned about there were ongoing compliance issues with suspended solids, I'm just wondering if I missed it, why that happened and what we can do about it?
So we've been doing numerous items to try to fix that. It's been ongoing. It started last year. We had that high flow in March. It washed the plant out. And then from there, so we had issues with the bacteria within the system. From there, we had a failure of the discs, the media discs, which actually hold the bacteria, which took time to get that replaced. It's been a long recovery. And one of the things that we're looking at now is potentially flow pacing the system. We've been working with our process optimization team and doing jar testing to make sure that we're chemically dosing what we should be dosing. So we have a number of things ongoing. The problem with the sewage system too is you need to one change at a time and wait, because if you do too many changes, then you don't know what worked and what didn't work. So that's a lot of the time it's a waiting game and it's very frustrating. We've added more media to the clarifiers as well, which helps with the sludge from not bulking. So it's ongoing. We're getting better and we've had some success and some months without non-compliance. So we're heading in the right direction for sure. We just need to consistently stay there.
Right. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Westman.
Hello, Renee.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, like, I've taken a keen interest in some of the things that you mentioned here. The fats, oil, and grease, that's been kind of my my pet project And I've been trying to do education in the Granton area because it seems to affect the Granton wastewater treatment plant more than Lucan because it's a different process. The City of London produced a really good video, which I've circulated, and I have the privilege of being on the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority Board and the Sawa Bayfield. So we are keenly interested in quality of water and what's going on with waste treatment facilities because it does affect the watershed. And, you know, the Children's Water Festival in London, we unfortunately haven't been able to hold that with Upper Thames, but they had some really good programming. One of them was your toilet is not a garbage can, and that was a really good educational program for the kids. But I think it's important that we reach the kids as well as their parents and their grandparents and their neighbors. You know, when we saw those the damage to those pumps from whatever that was put down, rags or pillowcases or something, it blew my mind because that's pretty substantial. You have to know that you're doing something there. And so I really like to focus on more education and information out to the public so that people can know the impact that it has. And there will be costs that unfortunately will be passed back to the ratepayers. You know, every time those things happen, there's a cost to it. So, you know, have you seen the video from the City of London?
No, I have not, but I'm definitely interested in seeing it. I would love to see
Okay,
it.
I'll make sure it gets sent to you. That'd be great. So,
No,
all
I
right,
appreciate that.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I
Madam.
appreciate your interest in that and a support in that because it is really important that it comes right from the top and goes all the way down. So anything we can do to promote it, I'm more than happy to do a talk to optimist groups, anything. It's just, it's my pet peeve. For example, we found mop heads in the pumps twice. How does a mop head get into the system is beyond me, but that's pretty substantial to have something like that. So I really appreciate your interest in this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Westman. Any other questions or comments from Council? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Renee. I just have a quick question about the total suspended solids. Can you explain what the impacts are, environmentally or otherwise, of these exceedances?
So total suspended solids is exactly what it says. It's just solids which are being introduced into the receiving stream. So we try to keep them under certain limits so it doesn't affect the receiving stream. Thankfully, our numbers are not extremely high. The limit is 10. And for example, I think one time we had a 10.5. It's not, we're not terribly over. If this was an ammonia, I would be very concerned because ammonia can kill fish and we don't want things like that to happen. And this is solids. And as long as we're being diligent and showing that we're trying to make things better, then that's the best that we can do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else? Okay, seeing no further comment, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder. We do have a recommended motion in front of us, but I am just going to amend it a bit to include the 2021 annual reports. So I'd like the motion to read that Council received the Lucan and Granton 2021 annual reports and fourth quarter operational reports from Aqua for information. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. So thank you very much again, Renee. Susan, it was great to meet you virtually, and we look forward to seeing you sooner rather than later. But if not, I think we'll probably see you at AMO in August. But hopefully we get to see you before then. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we have another delegation tonight, and joining us again is Stuart Finlater from Finlater and Associates, and this is follow-up from our last council meeting when we were discussing the municipal comprehensive review, and we're going to have further discussion as follow-up from that. So, Stuart, it's great to see you. And I will turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, Your Worship. I was watching the council meeting on my iPad, and I had to turn that off because I was following it on the iPad. I couldn't.
No worries, no worries.
That was on hold. So anyway, thank you, Your Worship, members of council. I have got before you tonight a very brief report. It's the mapping request that council had made on April 5th. The last meeting we had a good discussion with council regarding where council would prefer to see the additional 56 hectares of lands that can be justified to be brought into the settlement area of the village of Lucan. Originally, as council is aware, we had it proposed on the north and the east, and for the reasons that were discussed at April 5th council meeting, council would like to see it on the west side. So that is what we have done. We've produced a revised map showing an additional 24.7 hectares of land on the west side of Lucan, as per council's direction. And I guess I would just leave it there, Your Worship. If there's any questions or clarifications, myself or Dan are prepared to take any questions you may have.
Okay, appreciate that, Stuart. And I will ask council for any questions or comments on this. Deputy Mayor Manders.
No, I certainly I do like that map better. I think having 44% of the land for the next 25 years on the west side is certainly a nice rounded growth. 56% of the land basically on the east side is and with the existing future residential designation that we know has the capacity to green light go today is still heavy development on the east, which is great, and having a little bit on the west. But I like what I see. I'm hoping we, there was talk about a public meeting. I've looked at this whole process from day one, that the whole public and all Lucan Biddulph, in my mind, it was always open to anybody to discuss the lands that were submitted or not submitted, to talk to it. I never looked at a public meeting that was only to the east or to the west. I always thought we were having a township community public meeting. And I don't find this, those lands were submitted right from day one. And as I said to Stuart, it's amazing things that have changed in the 4 years, from BM Ross report to Stuart doing that to when we have to put up our hand. And a lot of things have changed, from the flow study to the development, commercial development, and that's where council discussed at the last meeting where we're at today. So anyways, it sounds like staff wants to have another public meeting. I hope after this we can, I like what I see. Again, to me, it's a repeat of what we've done, but as I thought it was always a public meeting, we were never for everyone to talk at. But anyways, I hope we can proceed with a public meeting then, and proceed tonight and give that direction.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess maybe just jumping off that, and I don't know whether this is a Stuart or a Dan question, but for next steps for the public meeting, maybe just, again, the rationale as to why a public meeting is being recommended, and what are the timelines that we're looking at.
Well, Your Worship, I can start with that. If Dan wants to add anything in, then you can obviously feel free to do so. But I think the reason, and it's really, I think Dan had said at the last meeting, it's really the county that's the approval authority. And I think it's an issue that the Dirk would like to see another public meeting, because of the fact that in the draft official plan amendment that went out for the November meeting, we did have a Schedule A attached to it, which showed the proposed area to be expanded to the east and to the north. And through discussions, and as Deputy Mayor Manners has said, how things have changed, council's, given some direction and some thought and indicated they would like to see the land added to the west. So that is different than what the public meeting originally was scheduled for and where discussions took place regarding. And so I think that's the point that that Dan and Dirk and myself are making, is that it is changed from what was originally put out for discussion. And so it would be safer for council to have one more public meeting to show the revised mapping, if that's what council wishes. And then you make your decision and we move forward from there. So I don't know, Your Worship, if Dan has anything he wants to add to that.
Okay. No, he's shaking his head, Stuart. So thank you for that explanation. And I guess maybe just what sort of timelines? I think, do we have to give about 20 days notice for the public meeting? Okay. So I'm gathering that if we go ahead with this, staff will work internally on a date. Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Stuart. I would just like to concur with my friend and colleague, the Deputy Mayor. Looking at this map, it speaks to balanced growth. It speaks to access to our community center. It speaks to lands that abut against our community center, our downtown area, our library, the future commercial development. So I'm supportive of that, and I'm asking that we can move forward with this, with the public meeting, and move this process forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions or comments from council? Oh, sorry. Yep, go ahead, Dave.
Just if staff could, for the public meeting, if it's possible, just to put in, I know the existing future, the existing designation of what's ready to go, if they could have that on the map as well, along, the 48 acres on the east side, if they could have that on the map, just in a different color. Thank you.
One last call for comments or questions. Okay, seeing none. Sorry. Yep, go ahead, Stuart. Sorry.
Your Worship, I just wanted to make sure, just to point out, and I believe they weren't distributed, but there was a couple of letters that came in after the agenda was set, one from Strickwald and Ellie Manez and one from Monteith Brown, and they expressed their opinions on the new mapping, and I just want to make sure that council's received those, just for the record.
Yeah, council has received all those, and I guess I'm assuming that, like the other packages we've seen, when the document is made up for the public meeting, all of that correspondence will be included in it, as well as all of the original correspondence, so the whole package. Okay, good. All right, thanks, Stuart.
Thank you.
If there's no other discussion or comment, we've got a motion in front of us to receive the report, but I'm also going to add in there to give staff direction to go ahead to begin the public meeting process. Is that the wording? To schedule a public meeting? Okay. So the motion is that council receives report number PL-10-2022 and that staff begin to schedule a public meeting with regards to this. Councillor Regan and a seconder, Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thanks very much, Stuart.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yep, good night.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to our minutes, and we've got the minutes from the April 5th meeting in front of us. And if nothing needs to be amended, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve for the motion that the regular council meeting minutes of April 5th be approved as circulated. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor, and that's carried. Don't think anything has changed from business arising. And did council want anything added to business arising? Deputy Mayor.
The only thing I was going to ask Ron, sorry, maybe it's on there. It probably is on there. Maybe an update then if it's on there. Sorry, it's just I've lost track just of the development charges on where, on kind of, you had mentioned about they're anyways, we had quite a discussion on, us as council wanting staff to make sure they capture it and do it exponentially, but not reckless.
So through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, just to answer your question. We've already had one, if not two meetings with the consultant, and we've had one staff meeting as well, so we're in that process. It's underway. I don't believe it is on this business arising. We can put it on there.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, because I think it's important to capture that, for getting that in a timely manner, because as we know, every DC charge we miss. So I think, I hope our staff can get that together in a timely manner. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to correspondence. There's been nothing that's been pulled by staff, but there are two items that I wanted to speak to. The first one is, that's the wrong one. Which is the first one, which is the notice from Middlesex County with regards to the annual meeting for our Middlesex Municipal Association. And just a reminder of Middlesex Day coming up on Thursday, May the 12th. And I think if you can let Tina and Ron know, we can all register as a group through to Marcy. But just a reminder to staff that it's our responsibility to get the invitations out to former members of council, former wardens in Lucan. So we want to make sure that we get those, let those people in Lucan Biddulph know in case they want to participate on May the 12th. And I hope that a number of you will be able to join us that day, because it's always a good day. And then the other one I just wanted to mention, and I think this is maybe more for Lisa, is the Senior of the Year Award. And after a couple of years of being these awards being put on hold, it's being brought back. If we can maybe put something out on social media to ask for some nominations, and we will certainly get in a nomination for somebody from our community for Senior of the Year for 2022. So if there's somebody that you're thinking of, please let us know. And other than that, those were the only ones that I saw that I wanted to speak to. Was there anything that council wanted to pull? Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive the items of correspondence for information. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Westman. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving into into committee reports. Blue Water.
We meet Thursday.
Okay, CEDC.
We'll be meeting tomorrow night.
Okay. Lake Huron, we don't have anything coming up. Although I think we've got a steering committee meeting tomorrow afternoon, don't we, Jeff? Yeah. Fire boards, there is 2 sets of minutes for the Lucan Biddulph Fire Board and the Biddulph Blanchard Fire Board. We met recently, and those, of course, are just draft minutes, but they're there for your information. And I don't believe there's anything from ABCA in Upper Thames. You've got upcoming meetings. Parks and Rec.
We did have a meeting. Minutes will be forthcoming in the next council package, as well as we have it was a quick meeting. We kind of reviewed the pool operation for this season and just looked at safety concerns, make sure we're not missing anything before going ahead with the pool this season. And we have another meeting coming up on May the 4th.
Into staff reports. Ron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one quick update. We, thanks to the treasurer, we realized the lease that the ambulance station has on George Street is actually expiring the end of this month. So we've reached out to the Middlesex London Emergency Services as well as the county, and we will be bringing forth a draft lease extension agreement in the near future. So.
Okay, great. Do you have any updates with regards to elections, Lisa? Sorry.
Just want to remind everyone that as of May 1st, nominations will be open for the 2022 elections. That is a Sunday, so nominations will be accepted on the next business day.
That election, and nominations are received May 2nd to August the 12th?
August 19th at 2 p.m.
August the 19th. Okay, there you go. Okay, nothing from building. Finance, Catherine.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to draw your attention to the bylaw that's in this package later on in the meeting, 19-2022, and that's to allow me to enter into our submitted application for those projects listed in there that we talked about at the last meeting. The amounts there, should we be approved, is not the amount we're going to long-term finance necessarily, but that allows us to draw against for short-term if we need to for cash flow.
Any questions on that for Catherine? Okay, thank you. Public work, or no, we'll go to planning first. Dan.
Through the chair, thanks, Madam Mayor. So just a quick one for council. There's two bylaws that are attached to the agenda today. It's bylaw 2022, which is an authorization to execute a severance agreement, which pertains to a surplus dwelling severance that we did quite a while ago in 2021. Also pertaining to that as well is bylaw 201-2022, which is the implementing zoning bylaw for the surplus dwelling zone on the severed lands and the agricultural A3 zone, which is a no resident zone on the remnant farm parcel. So we did previously pass that in principle, so the bylaw is just attached to this meeting today for second and third reading. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions on those bylaws from council? Okay, Jeff, Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one update. Next week, we have we did touch on, we did have a tour of a couple of lagoon sanitary waste plants that use lagoons, with BM Ross and Aqua joined us, and it was a good little tour. So just to follow up with that, we do next week have a meeting with BM Ross for the Class EA update and see how the expansion's going. So I should have for the next council meeting an update for council on how that's going.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Parks and Recreation, Paul.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. In front of you, there is a report. This pertains to businesses rising, where council had directed staff to go out and look at options for upgrading the Lucan Biddulph pool. We reached out to neighboring communities. South Huron and Thames Centre both did very similar projects at an affordable price using the Mirtha pool system. It's just a brief description of what that is. It's a marine grade stainless steel panel with a PVC membrane that has a triple layer, and they essentially make a waterproof vessel that sits inside of your current existing pool. This way, the other options to renovate a pool are fairly extensive and costly, as they require a lot of renovation, destruction of the pool surface, and recreating concrete, which can not last as long because it can lead to further cracks later on, which leads to water leaks, which leads to inefficiencies in the pool. So both South Huron and Thames Centre, they ended up going with the Mirtha pool system because it's a unique system that there isn't a comparable in the field, that they both had to go through procurement policies and single source this product. At the time, South Huron, there was, I believe, 3 licensed installers, so they single sourced the Mirtha pools, and then they sourced out the installation companies. Currently, Mirtha only has one authorized installer in Ontario, And so in order to proceed with this option, which is a fairly affordable option, and I think there's good cost savings with the R value of the installation, and as well as easily upgrading our pool without massive, extensive alteration to the existing structure, besides the addition of accessibility ramps and options. But in order to go forward with that, we need to bring this forward to council to get council approval to single source this this option. After that, if council proceeds with this, we will bring back the full proposal with a budget to council for approval. It should be known too, we're also, as discussed in previous council meetings, seeking out alternate funding options. There are grants for accessibility and green issues that we can possibly address to this program. And if that's the choice, we will continue to search these out.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Questions, discussion on the report in front of us. Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Paul, for the report. So you answered two of the questions I was going to ask about the grants and about what the system actually was. One thing that did come up, though, at PRAC when we were talking about going forward with the pool was just being able to get lifeguards. And I know that this year we're good. I'm just wondering, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but projecting down the road about sort of how to make sure that we're getting lifeguards so that we can actually have a pool season. Thanks.
If I may, through you, Madam Mayor. I'll go back before to the beginning and then just carry on to the rest of that question. I think one of the things that's great about a system like this is the maintenance is really reduced compared to normal years where we'd have to patch concrete, repaint the pool, do extensive repairs yearly. Even with some of the pool liners that are out there, there'd be extensive repairs. So with that cost savings, hopefully, the cost of having lifeguards, because I know that question will be out there, we're paying lifeguards to be at the pool. Sometimes the pool doesn't operate in the positives with when it comes to budget, but it's a nice amenity to have for the community. But reducing some of those costs and having energy efficiency might help balance that out going forward. But to answer your other question, I think, having the pool this year, we do have a lot of younger lifeguards with not a lot of experience compared to other years where we had that nice feeder system going forward. So I feel with this group, they'll have experience under their belt. Hopefully they'll enjoy coming back to our pool. I know a lot of them in the interview process have expressed, this is their pool and they've worked at other pools, but they're excited to be able to be in their home pool and really give something back to the community. So I think they're going to be invested that way, as well as if we go forward and give them a brand new pool, it's shiny new. Everyone likes shiny and new, so I think we'll have an even better attraction to future lifeguards is my hope.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments with regards to this report? Councillor Hodgins.
I'll share a couple comments and then I'll probably have a question or two. I think I do have some concerns with sole sourcing this just due to the value, like seeing that our sole source limit is $20,000 and we're talking about a $1.5 million decision here. So I do have concerns just that we're getting best value for our money by going with one supplier. So I wanted to share those concerns. I'm not as familiar with the pool and the background and the current condition and what's wrong with it, what we need to fix. I understand there's some accessibility issues and we have to bring it up to today's standards as outlined in the report. But I'm just wondering if staff has, or if it would be possible to look at the different options for our pool and evaluate those options. Look to local companies for different types of repairs. Just a little concerned with this system and product, just because I'm not so familiar with it. So I'll maybe ask some questions so I'm just, why the Mirtha pool system? Like, how did we arrive on this product, and how is this determined to be the preferred alternative for the pool reno?
Okay, so I think Paul can speak to why the Mirtha. Did you want to tackle the sole sourcing? Ron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through you to Councillor Hodgins, that's exactly what we were looking at, and that's what staff were concerned about. Is how do we make sure we're getting good value for our money is the question. So, and I think I felt a lot better after understanding the process that Thames Centre went through. They went through a full RFP. All the prices came back, and it was way higher than what they could afford. So they ended up not awarding the tender. And then they talked to the one contractor with the Mirtha pool system and said, okay, this is our budget, what can we do? So I guess what we're trying to do is save time and going through that process and building on the experience of Thames Centre. And it wasn't just the experience of Thames Centre, it was also South Huron. So that gave us a little bit of comfort in bringing forth the recommendation to council. So.
And then Paul, did you want to address more what the Mirtha product is?
Sure, if I may. So the way that both South Huron, I'll start with South Huron because they did it first in 2018. The way that they came around to the the Mirtha product is they first had heard about it at the actual AMO conference. The dealer for the Mirtha pools was there, and they talked about their issues and what they were looking to accomplish. At that time, I think they had at least 2 separate committees go through this project and through public input and what they were looking to do. And they set a defined budget. And I think that's what it comes down to, is in order to restore these pools, because a lot of our pools are the same age, it's from the 60s. To do extensive repairs to it through, even our pool, we've at one point repaired the deep end to help reduce leaks. We've also repaired our skimmer system, and it's quite costly. And unfortunately with concrete, with rebar, it can react over time with the pool chemicals, and it can have water affect it from the outside as well as the in. And with this system, you don't have that outside interference. It's all the internal, and with this hard PVC, it actually holds up very well against pool chemicals, and sun and algae. So it's a benefit there. So it's a more cost-effective way of rejuvenating our pool, as well as maintenance-wise, it's more cost-effective. And this is the same thing that Thames Centre came across. I believe even when we originally went through phase 2, we had a full renovation of our pool included in there. I don't know if many of you are familiar with that still. I believe the number was around 3 to 4 million. I don't have the number right in front of me. I would have to get back to council on that, but I believe it was around 3 to 4 million, because our budget originally for the community center was $12 million. So we removed that aspect to help get us under the threshold to apply for the ICIP grant. It upped our chances to get that grant, and we were successful. So now we thought, we're successful, let's look at how we can do the pool, and I think this is a very cost-effective way.
Did you follow up, Jaden?
Yeah, just quick follow-up. So that's helpful information, I guess, to get a sense of what the cost would be to renovate it. You said 3 to 4 million, so that's, I guess that's a lot more than what I thought it would be. I guess I don't know what the cost of a new pool would be, but if that's what it is, then this seems to be a more cost-effective approach. It's just, to me, the $1.5 million does stand out as a significant cost, and in evaluating those alternatives of renovating, I'm sure we'd look at the alternative of doing a new pool altogether, and landing on the best option. So I think that's all my questions, so thanks for the information.
Great. Paul?
If I may as well, I probably should have put this in before. So the estimated lifespan of this basically marine liner is 30 to 35 years for the PVC. The big thing for their product, they sell it as almost like an eternal lifespan, but that's just because they've been around for 25 years, they've had pools for 25 years, but they haven't needed it. So that's a positive right there. But the PVC liner itself, they're saying 30 to 35 years, they warranty it for 10, and then at that point, you wouldn't need to redo the entire panel, you would just redo the PVC liner. So just the single liner that goes on the outside, and they say that should get you another 30 to 35 years. So at that 30-year mark, that investment should be less than this investment.
And just to confirm, you just said it's a 10-year warranty, because in your report, you've got a 25-year warranty.
25-year on structural and 10-year on the membrane.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Understood. Okay, and then just Councillor Hodgins, and you'd brought up about it being a local company. This is a local company within the London region. So just to ease your mind with that as well. Councillor Regan.
If I may, Madam Mayor, thank you. So Paul, just something just came up that Councillor Hodgins just kind of just triggered with me. So is there any data that we have about the repair rate? Like, for example, when we just talked about the warranties and that kind of thing. Is there anyone that's had this product for some time that can maybe tell us, the experiences they've had with it, as far as repairs and that sort of thing? Or is this just something that's relatively new?
In the area, it's all relatively new. I can reach out to the company and see if there's further nearby, local, or within range to see any massive repairs. I will say, though, that a 25-year structural warranty is very good. Yeah. Even the 10-year membrane warranty, that's very good. And South Huron did have some issues, and that's why they've also changed to only having one single source installer. And they've honored that warranty, so they're covered for that. So they did that in 2018. So I think that, like I said, 25 structural and 10 membrane is a very good warranty.
Right. No, thank you. No, we need a pool for the kids. So thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hodgins, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other discussion? Deputy Mayor Manders.
So the pool this year is going to be open, in light of the construction?
That is the plan. I'm meeting with the health unit tomorrow, just to make sure there's nothing we've missed in order to open. In case there's anything extra, we're just trying to get ahead of ourselves so there's no surprises when we do go to open.
And then this year it's fully staffed for lifeguards?
We have enough lifeguards. There may be slight adjustments to the schedule, because there's obviously, with the construction, there will be days that we can't operate. And just for our comfort with lessons and so forth, we just got to make sure we have that schedule ahead of ourselves. But it won't be a normal pool season, but we're going to have something.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to repeat everything Councillor Hodgins said, but a lot of his comments I align with and concerns. But I understand your report. It's been a long time. I don't even know the last time there was a serious investment in that pool, if there even has been, or if it was 25 years ago or more. The last time. I mean, it's certainly been good not to have to put money into it, but it's been discussed. It's quite an expense for a 10-week employee issue asset. That's what I struggle with the most myself. But I don't know. I think we should be proceeding to. I struggle with the single sourcing too. I wish there was another product that would offset, just that would satisfy our staff. But I don't know. I guess we definitely need to do something though, and I think proceeding. I think right now you're asking to proceed to get firm quotes, I believe, and work at that right at this stage.
If I may, through you, Madam Mayor, yes, the purpose of this is just to get council to say, we're okay with the single sourcing, and you're not authorizing to go ahead with the project. You would just be going ahead with the single sourcing to bring back to council a full report with budget. And also, just to go back on another thing you said, I believe the last investment was in 2017. We redid the skimmer lines to try and reduce some of the water loss that we were having. But even some of that, we're still losing water somewhere. Even this early spring, you could see groundwater coming in the deep end. So like there's still that interference with the outside water. So it's not perfectly fixed. I believe the last one was sometime in the 90s where they redid the deep end. They made it a bit more shallow to try and save on cost, as well as to try and stop leaks, but we're still losing water. And I think that's another benefit to a product like this. It'll be sealed up. You shouldn't have that water loss.
And what's do you know, guesstimate the length of time to install this, construction time?
That's one thing that they really push on this too, that it's a quick turnaround for something like this, because they basically just install it inside your pool. It's not like the time where you rip apart a pool and then you have to pour the frame, you get the concrete to cure. So it's this is something we could start as soon as the fall if we have approval, and then it'd be ready for the next pool season.
So fall or spring, okay. Yep. Nope. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you. Has the company that installs the Mirtha pool system, have they been to the pool to review the existing conditions? And how far have they taken their proposal at this stage?
Yes, we have had a meeting with them just to look at our pool to see if it's even possible. Initially, we met with them not because of the Mirtha pool system, but just as a local contractor to kind of see, based on council's direction, meet with someone, look at the pool, try and get an estimated cost. And that's when they mentioned the Mirtha pool system and told us to reach out to Thames Centre, as has been brought up at council before, that we should go see the Dorchester pool, as well as South Huron. So I think they have a full plan in mind of what they'd like to do, and I think that'll be the next part of bringing forth to council of a proposal.
Thanks. I guess just one more question or comment. I'm wondering with the size of this project, $1.5 million to upgrade the pool, whether to look at those potential other options, is it worth getting some sort of expert advice from someone who specializes in pools? Just my concern again is just it comes back to the sole source, one company, one product, and just because it hasn't really been outlined in the report so well, whether I'm just not satisfied that we have looked at all those alternatives necessarily, and I'm just cautious with this one due to the significant cost here. So maybe a question is can we, I guess, step back and look at this, or can staff assure me that we have considered all alternative ways of renovating our pool?
Paul and then Ron.
I believe the whole direction from council to go reach out to our neighbors was to help kind of expedite this process. And based on their experience, and a recent experience, I think it's the information we've gathered from them is fairly valid, as they did look at all the different options. And even, like I said, Thames Centre, they didn't award their first tender because it was way above the budget they had set aside. So we obviously, if that's what council wishes, we obviously can do more.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was just wondering, maybe what we can do is, in the interest of moving this forward, is would a letter of opinion from the engineer, would that with a ballpark number, based on the work that needs to be done to that pool? Would that help you make the decision? I guess I'm trying to make you more comfortable in making the decision. From a staffing standpoint, I think Paul and I are very comfortable with this, and that's based on discussions with other CAOs and other public work or Parks and Rec managers as well. So.
Okay, yeah, I think, well, just hearing that and, you know, having trust in our staff and recognizing as well, this will be coming back for a further approval once more details are sorted out. I think we're good for now. Thanks.
Just want, Councillor Regan. Just as background to Councillor Hodgins, so I've seen the Dorchester pool. I've been in the Dorchester pool, polar bear dip. But anyways, I would maybe suggest that if, and this goes to all of council, maybe work with Paul and perhaps go see the Dorchester pool or the South Huron pool to see exactly what it looks like. And that might give you a better sense of what it is we're actually, what it is Paul's actually talking about. And the other thing is, to the report that was brought up as the design of what a new pool would look like, a new accessible pool that had that $4 million price tag on. I wonder even if you could dig that out and maybe provide that to council as well for information, so that they get a sense of that as well. If you don't mind, Paul?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just going back to one of the points the Deputy Mayor made about just the summer program, I know at PRAC there was an extensive discussion about the pool and operating the pool in the summertime, and that you were going to come up with a plan. So I'm just wondering, just for the Deputy Mayor and just for myself and for residents, where are we with that plan? Because there were some health and safety issues, and we know it's not going to look like the way it does now. It's going to be a little more, less chaotic, I would imagine, by the time the summer rolls around. So I'm just wondering where we are with that plan, and when you'll get back to us and let us know what the plan is.
We're in the process of working on that. We still have to finalize the initial key dates for the construction. They have a very good construction schedule out, but there's a few trades that they feel can overlap. So we just want to make sure we have those defined dates, so that way we can, once we complete this hiring process, we have a schedule for our pool staff, and then we'll have that out to the community as soon as possible, because the people are anxious to sign up for swimming lessons.
Right. Thank you. I know it sounds strange, Madam Mayor, talking about the pool when we've got 6 inches of snow on the ground, but there's no time like the present. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well, and it always gives us hope when we talk about a swimming season.
That's what we're trying to do.
An outdoor swimming season.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Any other further discussion on Paul's report in front of us? Okay, so the motion in front of us is that report number PR-05-2022 be received, and that council instructs staff to sole source the renovation upgrade of the Lucan Biddulph pool using the Mirtha pool system pending council approval of a proposed finalized budget and a letter of intent. So can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Westman, Councillor Regan. And just to confirm that this is just to go ahead with what the budget would look like, what it would all mean. It's then, when that's brought back, then the decision to move forward or not to move forward would be made. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Okay, anything else, Paul?
Today we released the RFP for the multi-purpose court, so that's out there. It'll be due to open on May 17th. And then the postings for the full-time operator closed as of Monday, so we'll be having those interviews next week, and hopefully we'll have a full-time operator back in our facility very shortly.
Great. Thank you very much, Paul. Lisa, Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two reports in front of you tonight. The first one being regarding Market Street Park ban shell. As you may recall, we dedicated $30,000 towards this project for 2022 to create this sort of band shell that we could use for various events through the summer and winter as well. After kind of discussing with a local contractor a little vaguely about the costs, and he came up with a rough estimate, giving the increased cost of these materials. He was comfortable saying this would probably cost us around $50,000 to construct. I attached a mock-up of what that sort of would look like in your agenda package. So there's a couple of options I guess we could go forward with. One is not go at all for 2022 and carry this over to 23, and then maybe look at adding budget to it at that time. I guess an option is just to not do it at all going forward. And another option would be to add approximately $20,000 to this year's budget to construct this band shell. So just looking for council's discussion and guidance on where we should move forward with this project.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Questions or comments on this report? Councillor Westman.
Yeah, I saw the concept drawing. Now, is that big enough, you think? Or, I mean, I don't see that, did I see the dimensions in there? Because I was looking for them.
Yeah, approximately it would be about a 16 by 20. I think that would do for what we are, the intentions of what we were gonna, have in that sort of a band shell. Okay. And then also have to remember, we're also dedicating some electrical to the park this year to increase that ability to have more vendors and maybe some entertainment at that location.
Okay, that's all I need.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hi, Lisa. Just two quick questions. So where exactly in the park would it be? And secondly, with the original cost, did that include the upgrade to the electrical? Because I know they were thinking about those enhancements like for the Christmas lights and those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. But I'm just wondering if that original cost of $30,000 included the electrical as well, or is that on top of?
Right, so the electrical is a separate budget item. The proposed location would be at the corner of Beach and Market, kind of in that corner where there's a bit of green space, and it would kind of balance out the park because there's things happening in kind of every corner but there. So that's kind of the proposed location, and it would face in towards the park.
Okay, may I ask, and I don't know if I'm seeing it there, so the extra 20 would come from where? As I'm reading through it, I don't know if you mentioned it. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, yes, after discussing with Catherine, the treasurer, she indicated that potentially there could be some funds coming out of building reserve. I could let her speak to that if approved, where that money would come from.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Catherine?
So the original project in the budget for 2022 was being funded from the building reserve. So the extra 20 would come from that, and there is room in that reserve.
Okay. Other comments, questions? Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa, for the report. For that rendering, now, is that the actual design, or is that more of a concept?
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. That would be, it's definitely the concept, but that is what we would be going off of for engineering. That is what the contractor looked at the pricings for concrete and steel beams and the wood as well. So it would be pretty much the same.
Just follow up for that. Is there, I guess, opportunity to modify the design to accommodate the set budget?
Through you, Madam Mayor, of course, it can be reduced, I think, to bring it into that $30,000. I'm just not sure if I would recommend that at this time. I think if we're going to do it, I would like to do it properly and do it a larger scale. I don't want to regret in 10 years having it too small. Thank you.
I agree with your comment. Thanks. One last question. Just wondering if there's any possible opportunities for meeting that funding gap to look at potential fundraising or sponsorship, whether there's any businesses or other parties that would like to contribute to have their name on it or something.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Definitely, that's something we have discussed. I guess the dilemma is a bit, we're already asking businesses we're going out for fundraising for the community center renovation. So I think there is some hesitancy to then go back out and ask for more funding or more donations towards this project when we're kind of focusing a lot of that on the community center.
Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, I'd like to see us not proceed with it this year, delay it another year, and dedicate budget from 2023. There seems to be support for this, and I just think it is something we can, Lisa could go and during budget next year, come with a firm drawing quote for budget. And if we can't afford it, then we would, to me, we would not proceed at that time, but we would try to proceed and just delay it to next year with a firm quote at budget.
Okay. Further comment? The 50,000, do you think that was that going to include the actual engineering costs on it, or was the 50,000 just for the supply lease, or the supplies and elements to it?
At this time, it would be basically the construction of it. I know the contractor had offered to do some of that engineering under his business, but as a free donation towards the project, but that would have to be discussed further.
And then I guess I'm thinking of how to pay for it, and wondering if it is delayed, could we maybe take some of the funds that we're hoping we'll realize from Summerfest and use that to help offset the cost rather than taking it from the building reserve?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think that's another excellent solution for 23, that we could use those funds, and I think that would be an appropriate use of that budget as well.
I'm wondering if the decision is to delay it when I finally put the motion on the floor, would there be an appetite to at least get the engineering done and get all of that, and maybe that would also give you more of a solid price of what this would look like?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think if we use some of the budget for 2022 to go towards that, and then come spring, if approved for the 23 budget, we would be ready to go.
Okay, any other discussion or comment? So the motion in front, there is a recommended motion in front of council tonight, and I guess I would look for direction from council as to whether that's the motion you want to go for, or if there is another motion that would like to be put on the floor. Deputy Mayor Manders.
I'll make a motion if I can get some staff's assistance on it, but basically use some of the funds to start the process to build in 2023, to have a firm number, and using potential Summerfest, any proceeds, extra proceeds go towards that, and but basically, and see where we sit in 2023 with our budget. But
Have you got that, clerk?
So just to be clear, I think I know what you want. So you're suggesting that the existing allocated funds of 30,000 be used to basically get the engineered plans ready to go so that we can have a proper number for next year? Yeah, so, okay.
Because potentially, what we don't know is it, you know, if all of a sudden Lisa got a surprise and it's 33, she might be coming, you know, I don't even know, you know, it's 6-7 months. I mean, adding, you know, going forward to next year's budget, we can see where we're sitting and whether it has to be delayed again or it gets accepted. Hopefully it does get accepted, but we need a firm number. And it appears it's going to kick the crap out of this, you know, the 30,000 budget. So.
And if I may, Madam Mayor, through you to the Deputy Mayor, what I'm wondering is maybe if council doesn't want to proceed at this point, maybe we hold off and we can bring a proper motion, because I would like to discuss with staff the potential to do an RFP. This is our stated design, and kind of do a design build. Typically that puts the onus for engineering on the contractor, and we could even tender that this fall for construction next year, so we actually have a number in front of us.
Yep, that'd be
for budget.
Okay, so then.
Yep.
So to defer it till the next, you don't need do you need a motion for that? No. And then I guess on top of that, it does give you maybe more grant opportunities, because I know you have looked at those for others, so, okay.
So just to be clear, Madam Mayor, so because we didn't get a seconder on the motion will not appear in the minutes? Okay, and we'll bring, after discussion, we'll bring forth the motion at the next meeting.
Okay, Lise, did you have something else?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The second report through in your agenda package is regarding the broadcasting and recording of council/committee meetings. Now that we are back in person, we've kind of run into some gray areas of what is being recorded, what's going live, and what is going back to the way things were pre-COVID. So we did a little survey, other municipalities, to see what everyone else is doing. Pretty much everyone else is back in person. They're doing hybrid models. So like we did tonight, you have some people coming in through Zoom delegations, but council, committee of adjustment, public meetings are going to continue to be recorded, going through Zoom and put on YouTube Live or whatever service some of those other municipalities on. So the majority of municipalities are going with that. Further committees underneath that, we're returning to in person if possible, and they weren't recording or posting them on YouTube Live. One municipality is continuing to do all of that for any committee and council meetings. So, like I said, we've been kind of running into some gray areas about what we should be doing with certain committees, and so we're looking for council's discussion and direction on where you'd like to see that kind of line drawn about what should be broadcasted live versus back to the old way where we're in person taking minutes, public attendance, that sort of thing for committees such as Parks and Rec, EDC, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Okay. Before I open it for discussion, I just have one question, just to make sure that we are clear on this. When the province gave the municipalities the ability to meet virtually, they did that under the special orders that their emergency orders. And then we adopted that, and when we updated our procedural bylaw, I believe, to reflect that, or does it still, or are we still only granted the power through the emergency order, or we're still in a state of emergency, so we can still, meet virtually. But I just want to make sure that, that we get our procedural bylaw in order too, in the event that, the state of emergency is lifted and we have to meet back virtually for whatever reason, weather, whatever.
I'm going to qualify my answer. I'm not the lawyer. But I will say that we are still under the state of emergency. So I believe as a result of whatever council's direction is tonight, we would ultimately have to amend or possibly amend our procedural bylaw regardless. But to answer your question with regards to the special powers or under the special piece of legislation, I don't know the answer to that one. I'm going to have to double check. I'm pretty sure they made that final, but I would have to double check that.
Any other discussion or any questions or discussion from council? Deputy Mayor Manders.
No, I do like staff's recommended, their motion here under what's recommended. I support that. Does that put us at any, like making that firm of a motion, if there was technical difficulties or issues that we, and even Lisa just say she was sick or couldn't make it to a meeting. I don't know how easy it is for Paul to swing over there and take over, but does anything like, if we can't and when we can't, I think there will be a day, one meeting that we can't do that motion that we're about to pass potentially. Is there any issues with that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, to answer that question, I think we have to amend our procedural bylaw accordingly to give sort of council the power to make those decisions in cases of emergency.
To proceed with the meeting.
Correct.
That it's not going to be live.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
Nope, very good. Thank you.
I think as well, Deputy Mayor, as long as we're open to the public, I think going live and having that is almost a bonus, right? It's something we'd always been going towards. We wanted to do everything live for accessibility reasons. People can't come. But I think as long as when we get to the point where we're public and people are welcome to come to our meetings, it's almost like we were back, 3 years ago when we just sat here and had meeting minutes taken. I think if your live doesn't work, but you're open to the public, I still think you're still safe. It's just that the live part is like I said, like an extra bonus or value added to our meetings.
Yeah. Okay.
I
really do. I really I think the public really likes likes this, and again, it'd be that one-off that it didn't happen that concerned me, but you've addressed my concern.
I think it's like, the City of London, they broadcast through Rogers. Well, if Rogers has difficulty, it doesn't do anything to the legitimacy of their meeting, right? So if you think about it like that, and to Lisa's point, when we finally get to that point where we say, okay, now, we'll keep the doors open and anybody can come watch, then I think we're covered. Any other questions or comment? Okay, so there is a motion in front of you, and if you are happy with that one, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman. And maybe I will just read that for anybody that is watching us. And that is that council agrees that as of April 20th, 2022, the following meetings will be broadcast live on YouTube as well as recorded. And those are regular council, special council meetings, public meetings, and committee of adjustment and court of revision meetings. And further, that all other committee, board meetings will return to minutes only recording. Options will be provided for members, guests, and delegations to attend any meeting virtually. And it's been moved and seconded, and all in favor of that? And that is carried. Did you have anything else, Lisa? Okay. Okay, councillor comments. Yes. Councillor Westman.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Councillor Reagan and myself and Public Works Manager Little went to the Good Roads Conference last week, We were able to extend our gratitude through Councillor Regan's excellent presentation to the Minister for the generous grants that we received for the community center upgrades. It was very productive. It was a unique experience in that we're all getting back together for the first time, and you know, getting together for sessions and things like that kind of took on a little different feeling. But it was good to get back in person. It was good to be able to meet with people, and I found it to be very, I think, a very productive and it was a good feeling to have people together and be able to hear things. I was quite interested in some of the presentations that were being made. The Premier spoke up about commitments to you know, supporting the addition of additional skilled trades jobs in the province of Ontario, and our Minister of Labour was up and spoke about labor relations and doing more work with that, which is kind of refreshing to hear from our folks on the right. They tend to be more centered on industry and companies. Now they're focusing on workers, which is good. I hope we'll hold their feet to that fire. But it was a good conference, and really I got a lot out of it. So I appreciate council sending us there. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Alex. Any other councillor comments? Councillor Hodgins.
I'll apologize in advance if this is not the correct time to be bringing this up, but just reading through the minutes from our last council meeting, there was something that the mayor brought up that was noted, and it was a concern for lack of trees in Lucan Biddulph. And the question was how that would potentially be incorporated into our official plan amendment. And I think it was asked to our planning staff, and the answer was that it's addressed through the subdivision agreements, and I guess that's the process. But I'm just thinking it has been on my mind. You know, I see areas of the township or in the towns where there does seem to be a lack of trees, and I'm just wondering to staff, maybe a question, and that's why this is probably not the right time to bring this up because this is comments, whether we do have like a forestry strategy or a more broad plan for how we get trees in our communities, in our new developments, in a timely manner, and how we protect those trees and preserve them. So yeah, sorry, it's probably not the right time, councillor comments, but I just wanted to bring that up because I have thought about it, particularly in some of the new developments where it looks like trees haven't gone in. Hopefully there are planned to go in eventually, but just wanted to bring that up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. And it is a good time to bring it up because I think it generates a general discussion, and staff can answer that. So no worries there as to when to bring it up. So at this point, I'm looking to see, and I see both Paul and Jeff have their hands up. So I will maybe start with Jeff, and we'll go from there.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So to start with, we have a rule, basically guideline, that when we take down a tree, we replace it with two. So out in the country, if we do remove a tree, we do replace it with two out there. We do ask the landowners to plant it on their property, not on township property. This just allows us not to be the ownership of the tree in the ditches. In the urban area, we have not been arranging our development to put trees in, just because we would rather not have them interfering with the sidewalks and the infrastructure that we're putting in. However, said that, we are looking at design standards that we can arrange the infrastructure to better meet the needs of trees to be put into our development. So that's part of something that's going to be coming. We did, if if we can incorporate the trees into a development, we will. For instance, the Asabo Fields, we're putting sidewalks only on one side of the street. And the street that does not have the sidewalks, we're looking at putting the trees along the boulevard because there's spaces that can be incorporated there. I'll maybe leave that at the road information, and I'll pass it to Paul because he'll touch on some of the areas where we can plant trees on some of our properties.
So through you, Madam Mayor, yeah, we have been working directly with the ABCA on some future planning on, they have grant projects all the time. We've done several, like behind the old municipal office. There's a huge section there. There was a section of land that behind the wastewater treatment plant that we reforested. We're constantly working with them on new projects when they have grants available to see if we can take advantage of that and utilize some of our, we call it recreation land, but some of it's turning out to be like stormwater pond land, but it's become passive recreation. So that's the perfect place for trees because, people are just walking calmly through there. They're not going to get as damaged, and they become beautiful areas. So we're working with them. The ABC has actually requested to meet with Jeff and myself to, talk about some of our ideas for the future that we could then bring forward to council. It's very preliminary at this point, but they just like to talk to us about that for this exact same reason. We're a growing community. We want to see how they can work with us on that. But mostly we've been trying, I think a few years ago now, we were trying to put a program into place on how we could how and where we should be planting trees, because before that, we had a simple budget for trees. We purchased that many trees, and we just planted them throughout the parks. But we're trying to get an established plan together and trying to make sure that they're native species that are going to be beneficial for the area.
Follow up? Good. Just on that, so I guess Councillor Hodgins used the term forestry strategy. So is that something that will come back in a more formal way? I like just listening to what Jeff has said and what you've said, Paul. So a more formal document will be coming back at some point to council?
I believe so. I believe that's plan. Like I said, everything's at the very beginning stages, as they know that we're interested, and as the CEO has often said, we need more trees. We're one of the least treed municipalities, and we've been trying, council's done great decisions to help remedy that. I believe like upping the amount of trees that we replaced when we're cut down. So I think that will come forward, and part of that will be in the official presentation for design standards too, that I'm sure will be addressed in there if that's one of the things that council wishes to see included, but it will definitely be something formal later on down the road.
And then I know in the past we've given away trees during pitch-in day, but I think that maybe there is a date issue when the trees were going to be available. Are we still going to have trees available for the public in the coming weeks?
Yes, we've ordered some trees through Sabo Bayfield. Unfortunately, they don't come in until the 25th due to just timing of harvesting those trees. So we're going to work with staff and trying to figure out how we can get those out to the public for that delivery. So they would be coming, I guess, the Monday, and how we can distribute those to the community.
Okay, good. Paul?
If I may as well, through you, Madam Mayor, we have over the past little while, we've been making sure we do posts within our parks and recreation social media to just, ABCA stuff like the turtle releases, the snapping turtles, things like that. I don't see why we couldn't, make sure we make it part of our effort to share information on how people can procure trees through the ABCA, because they have a good program and it's affordable.
Any other councillor comments? Councillor Westman.
Yeah, and just to add to that, trees are available, but they're also working with landowners for cover crops to help, secure riverbanks or stream banks and avoid wind erosion. So landowners can get a hold of the ABCA and talk about that as well. So.
Any other councillor comments? Okay. There are no changes to budget. Any notices of motion? We've got, and then we'll move into motions and accounts. So we have a set of accounts in front of us. And the motion in front of us is that the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph receive the attached accounts as paid for information as follows. And that's for March of 2022 in the amount of $1,616,220.99. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Westman, all in favor? And that's carried. We do have, just reading this here. We have 4 bylaws in front of us. Bylaw 19-2022, and that's to authorize the submission of an application to Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for financing of certain ongoing capital works of the Township of Lucan Biddulph. Bylaw 20-2022 to authorize the execution of severance agreement with Hills of Dreams Farms Limited. Bylaw 21-2022, and that's to adopt and confirm all the actions and proceedings of the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph at the council meeting held on April 19th. Okay, I'm a bit confused here. It's a good thing Dan stayed. So bylaw 201-2021 to amend, that's the Lucan Biddulph Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw for Hills of Dreams. It's just that that's not included in our confirming bylaw. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Question of Dan.
Oh, it
Wasn't
is.
there one bylaw that was only supposed to be given first and second reading, or
Second and
alternately-
third reading.
Or third reading?
Yep.
Bylaw 20-2022, which
Yep.
is the execution of the severance agreement, as well as bylaw 201-2022.
So those ones are only for second and third reading?
That's correct. Yeah, they've already received first reading.
Okay, because
sorry,
typically it's
bylaw-
first and second reading, third reading's usually
Okay, just
withheld,
right.
so,
This is third reading.
okay.
For bylaw 201-2022. Bylaw 2022 would be first, second, and third reading.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, so then let's deal with bylaw 201-2022 to amend the Lucan Biddulph Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw. And that would be to consider it to have been read a third time and passed, correct? Correct. So the whatever the wording is for that. So that's just for bylaw 201-2022, and that's to give it its third reading. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. So then the 3 other bylaws, 19-2022, 20-2022, and then the confirming bylaw of 21-2022, that if no one cares to speak to those bylaws, 19-2022 through 21-2022 inclusive, on their first, second, and third reading, that they be considered to have been read a first time and passed, read a second time and passed, and read a third time and passed. All in favor, or a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And those are carried. And resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:49 p.m. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Regan, Councillor Westman, all in favor, and that's carried. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and we will see you on Friday.